Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I have a question for you.
Okay.
How do you know when the moon is broke?
Probably is the man who lives on the moon on the street corner begging for change?
No.
Oh, how?
When it's down to its last quarter. What holds the moon up?
Well, it's not really up, is it? But go ahead, tell me.
Moonbeams.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't the moon? Why didn't
So we did this like last year, like almost exactly a year ago. You did the Halloween
Yeah.
episode and you gave me a bunch of jokes. So go
I
ahead.
have one more.
Okay.
Why didn't the moon eat lunch?
Because it was fasting.
It was already full.
Oh, big breakfast for the moon, I guess.
Okay.
Can't believe you would do this to me. I got my mouth all cut up and everything.
Your mouth is cut up.
I was eating cheese earlier.
And the cheese cut your mouth?
It was sharp cheddar.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Go ahead.
Our topic today, full moon hysteria, is the idea that the moon affects behavior in both humans and animals and can cause us to act erratically. With countless supporters and naysayers of this phenomenon, what is the truth? This is
Country Roads Creeps. Good.
Thank you.
We're on top of it.
All right. Now, before we start, let me remind you that I have in writing, you promised not to be a buzzkill during this episode.
I did promise that, yeah.
I've got it in writing.
I was going to say, actually, first of all, follow us on wherever you want to follow us at. Mostly Instagram and Facebook, because that's the only two social medias that we have.
Oh, we have YouTube.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, but that's for the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really...
Yeah, that's like equivalent with Spotify. Spotify. Like 5-star review if you don't mind.
Give us 5 stars. But also, I think we've talked about this before, and I was very argumentative and don't believe in it. And mostly that's just because I want to be argumentative with you sometimes. And also, I'm ready to be convinced if you can convince me. So
I will not be convincing you today.
I'm listening to this episode with an open mind.
Well, okay. I never wanted to discuss the moon with you on this podcast because we've argued about it so much.
I have a weird moon episode in the chamber.
But here we are. We are talking about the moon.
We had supermoon the other day.
So. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
You suggested it to me, and I said yes.
Yeah, it was big and cheese looking. It was yellow.
Yeah. So if you know me, you know that I am a firm believer in the full moon making people act crazy.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little more at the end. Unfortunately for me, there's no evidence for that.
Yeah,
okay?
As I think I've pointed it out.
There's like none.
80 million times.
I can't support my beliefs with any evidence other than anecdotal.
Can I give you the I guess the counterpoint to that? Like,
yeah.
Because I always tell you like there's zero evidence whatsoever.
And you're correct.
But
I'm still a believer.
Are you not going to get into like more crimes and more medical things and more all that stuff happening on full moons?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, because that's something.
Well,
I guess they're correlated, but that doesn't mean that it makes it.
Let me tell a story.
Okay.
So little interesting tidbit just to start off. The Roman goddess of the moon is named Luna, which is the prefix of the word lunatic. And lunatic, that word came from the idea that the lunar cycles and the moon phases were responsible for changes in a person's mental state.
Okay.
How, you may ask? I'm going to start with a sentence you're going to hate. Okay. So listen to this. You're going to hate this.
Okay.
Aristotle and Pliny the Elder. Ever heard of that guy?
I think.
He was a Roman historian.
I've definitely heard of Pliny the Elder. That other guy doesn't sound kind of
Aristotle.
familiar. Yeah.
Greek philosopher. Okay. They had a theory that the brain was the moistest organ.
Okay.
And susceptible to be influenced by the moon, like how the tides are, because it's wet.
Okay.
All right. I thought you'd hate that more than you did.
No, I mean, it makes sense because the brain is wet, right?
Yeah. And so...
Is it weird that your brain is wet? Are you thinking about that now, that like your brain is, like if you were to touch it, you would have goo on your hand?
Not really, because like everything inside you is wet. Not just your brain.
Fair.
So it doesn't... Yeah. I'm not going to think about that too hard.
Okay.
So that has come into this like modern day belief that says that could be true because the human body is 80% water, and therefore the gravity can mess with that inside you and change your nervous system and your behavior. That's the belief now, because it's not just your brain, it's kind of like your whole body.
Okay.
However,
how much gravity is that?
Well, if you listen to this next sentence, I'll tell you. You're doing to me what I do to you when I ask you the question about what you're about to say.
Yeah.
I do that to you every time. The late astronomer George Abel said that a mosquito landing on your arm would have more of a gravitational pull on your body than the moon does.
Yeah.
Like the moon only affects the tides because the surface area of the ocean is so large that it can pull on it, but it's not really pulling on you.
So I don't remember if we just talked about this in person and had an argument about it, or if we mentioned it on a podcast. But the moon, the way everybody gets described, excuse me, in school is that the moon goes around the earth and it makes tides. And that's not the case. It's because the earth spins, the earth actually, it spins into the gravity. Mm-hmm. And so there's constantly a bulge. And so the earth spins under the amount of water that's being pulled out, evidently. This is according to our boy, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It does affect the tides, but not in the way that you think.
Yeah, it's not, it
does influence it, but not how we were always told.
Yeah, because the way, or at least the way I always understood it, and maybe it's because I'm stupid and didn't pay attention in school, but because the moon goes around and then it pulls and it makes the tides, but it's pulling constantly on a part, and then the earth spins and it turns into that, and then that's why it comes in and out. Yeah. Well, like multiple times a day.
So the gravity from the moon is not strong enough to mess with your brain and change your behavior. Yeah. Another reason why that doesn't really work out is because the moon only affects the tides of the open body of ocean water. It doesn't affect water in a closed container, like the water that is closed in your body.
Yeah. How small? Okay. An ocean has waves on the beach, right? Mm-hmm. Lake Erie has beach waves. They're not big, but they have them. Yeah. I've been there, seen it. How big is a water before it's tide? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good question.
Let me rephrase that in a way that's more than 5 words. How much water gets affected by the moon? Because like your pond doesn't. Like a pond in your yard doesn't. And yeah, look it up. A pond doesn't. Like a small lake, like the lake that I go fishing in, a few lakes around here that I go fishing in, they don't. But the Great Lakes are real big. So are they big enough to have tides, or do they have waves for another reason? How big?
The first 2 results on Google say tides are specifically the ocean.
Okay.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good question. Okay.
No high tide at Lake Superior.
Right. I mean, I would assume that they have probably different water levels throughout the year, but not like a daily high tide, low tide sort of deal.
Okay. And this obviously is all given that you think the earth is round in the first place.
Oh my gosh. We're not getting into that.
given the assumption.
Shane's smirking because he knows that's going to make me mad. Okay. So basically, and then the kind of third reason why this doesn't work is that the strength of the gravitational pull of the moon doesn't change with the different phases. So when there's like a new moon or a full moon, even though you can't see the new moon, it's still there. Mm-hmm. You can't see it. So it's still pulling the same on the tides.
Yeah. Because the moon is tidally locked, isn't it?
It's what?
It's tidally locked, right? Is that true?
Is that a phrase? Did you just make that up?
No.
Tidally locked?
Yeah, it's always the same. You don't ever see the backside of it.
Oh, yes.
Because the reason there's moon
Dark
phases
side of the moon.
Is because the sun hits it in a different angle because of where it is in its precession. Yeah. But you always see the same front, so it doesn't spin. Mm-hmm. Which is another weird thing, almost like it was put there by something we don't know about.
Okay, so that's the biggest part of the lunar lunacy thing, is that it affects people's behavior. Okay. But it kind of doesn't, supposedly.
Okay.
But
Okay.
what else is it attributed to other than behavior? Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is traffic accidents.
Okay.
People say that there are more traffic accidents on nights that there are full moons. That came from a study from 1982 that initially seemed to support this, that they were seeing more traffic accidents on full moon nights. But someone realized during that study that more of the full moons happened to fall on weekends when more people would be out driving anyway. There would be an increase in traffic on the weekends anyway. So once they took that factor into account, they couldn't really say that the increase in wrecks was due solely to the full moon.
Oh yeah. So if you have 10 traffic accidents on a normal night and you have 30 on a weekend night,
right? Because more
then
people are out and about.
There's still 30 on weekends that aren't full moon weekends.
Yeah.
And also 30 on weekends that there is a full moon.
And so like farther studies haven't really been able to find a super strong connection between full moons and traffic accidents. If anything, and we'll talk about this again in a second, it would be just contributing to distracted driving when people are trying to look at the moon while they're driving. It's not that the moon is like magically causing the car to wreck. It's that it would be a distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of tricky.
Well, this is the thing with like all statistics, right? Anytime you see a statistic online that like people try to bring up for whatever reason, it's like you can manipulate statistics. So
yeah, and that was kind of the problem with this, is that
to be like
they had a study that people interpreted one way, and then somebody said, no, it really means this. And
this is, well, and with like scientific studies too, as it turns out, they're like often not all that scientific.
Yeah, there's usually a lot of like flaws in the procedures.
A lot of situations that still happen, like in, what was it, the 50s, when Marlboro paid off all those scientists to say that cigarettes weren't bad for you.
Yeah.
And then the sugar companies paid all the scientists to say that sugar wasn't bad for you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any company really has anything to gain by paying off a full moon study, but you never know.
Airbag companies.
Yeah.
You think? Or like insurance companies, maybe. Or like, get full moon insurance. You're covered under a full moon.
You bundle that with your alien invasion insurance we talked about a few episodes back.
Oh, yeah. Alien invasion insurance.
What episode was that on that we were talking about that? Was it the Heaven's Gate cult?
I think so, yeah.
The alien abduction insurance.
They got.
Yep. So bundle that with your full moon auto insurance.
Yeah.
Bundle and save.
Progressive.
Bundle and save.
This episode brought to you by Progressive.
All right. The next thing that there has been said to have a link between is with fertility.
Ooh.
Some people think there's a link between the phases of the moon. Sorry, I can't talk. And fertility kind of / menstrual cycles and ovulation. Okay. So the moon phases take about 29 and a half days to complete.
Okay.
And the average menstrual cycle is 28 days.
Okay.
Let me stress, though, that is just an average.
I have a prediction.
Okay.
So do you know how...
I'm scared of whatever you're about to say.
Already, this is like... This is going to come out so stupid, but...
Oh my gosh.
So you know how the Earth takes 24 hours to rotate on its axis, and there's 365 days in a year. But the Earth doesn't take 24 hours to rotate on an axis. It's slightly less. And so...
We have leap year.
So every 4 years, that adds up to 1 day.
Yes.
So your menstrual cycle takes 28 days. And the moon takes 29 and a half days. So every 4 years, you have a leap period and you skip it once. Is that...
It was so dumb.
Is that...
No.
Because I understand women, I'm going to run for office and make policy.
And make policies about
So...
Sheesh. It's too real. It's too real. So as I was saying, that's really just the average. Lots of people have cycles that are a lot shorter or a lot longer, and both are completely normal, but it just averages out to 28 days. So it's not really a true connection. It's just more coincidental if the timing happens to match up with you.
Yeah.
Because that's really not typical for your average person. But the idea was that you would ovulate on a full moon, and that was when you had like the highest chance of fertility.
Here's a question.
But it's not really true. Yes.
Why is it 28 days though?
The average?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why is it like that?
I guess because it's like typically once a month, and there's roughly 4 weeks in a month, but not exactly. So there's
no.
Oh, are you making a joke?
No, I'm saying why do you know the biological reason that it only takes 28 days? I know that's the amount of time that it's a month. But why is it?
No, I don't know.
Well,
God made it that way.
I guess, but here's my other question is like, well, so months used to be 4 weeks. It used to be, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then they all used to be 28 days. And then at the end of the year, there was an extra month. Remember that? And then you don't remember that because that was like the 1200s.
Well, I don't remember it happening, no, but remember talking about it, yes.
But so do you think that cavemen judge time based on that kind of stuff of like the moon goes in these cycles and women go in these cycles? And so that means
I don't know that they would have
the amount of time that it
out
takes.
What the average was, though, because like I said, most people are really not on.
They don't have Instagram to scroll through. All they have time to do is count days. You don't think that would be like one of the first things that they figured out is like, what the heck?
I don't know.
My wife bleeds once a month, and that's odd, first of all. Second of all, because this is brand new to us. And the moon is complete once a month, so there's probably
a connection.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. Well, a study in 1996 showed no correlation, but also there's an app that is pretty popular called Clue that people use to track their periods and symptoms and everything.
Clue, like the game?
Yeah. No, not like the game. It's just called Clue. Clue, I guess, took all their data from everybody that used it and also said that there was no correlation between menstrual cycles and full moons, which brings up a question of, was that okay for them to do that? To use all that data? I guess if they didn't identify anybody, yes.
Well, sure, but
sort of concerning, I think. I guess that's a topic for a different time.
Yeah, well, all your information is...
Nothing's private.
No. Yeah. Your agreement, because I'm sure there's like a terms and conditions agreement that you have to click OK and agree on whenever you sign. This is like any app, you know?
Yeah.
Whether it's like...
You probably said it's okay for this to be used in a study.
Yeah, and so, and usually it's like stuff like, I don't know, like, I don't know. Maybe they're like, well, we want to track, like, we want to be able to compile your data and make charts based on like, oh, actually more women's periods start on the 3rd, and that's odd. I don't know. I pick a thing. Who cares? But for them to publish it might not be like, it's not the most polite thing in the world, probably. But.
Yeah, not the most polite. That's hilarious.
23andMe sells DNA data to China, so that's cool.
Oh, good. Super good. Love to hear that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, on that super exciting, fun, happy note, let's move on. We'll talk about birth rate. Are more babies born on full moons? What do you think?
I'm going to say no.
You're correct.
But I'm sure there's a reason that people would think that.
There is a reason that is coming at the end of why people think any of these things. There's going to be one overarching reason of why any of this has happened.
Because people look for patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And
basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, more babies are not born on full moons, and there have been a lot of studies on this that span across years, that span across different locations.
Yeah.
Lots of people have looked into this. The one that was the most convincing for me, that I was like, yeah, that's probably good enough, is that in 2001, there was an analysis of 70 million birth records from the National Center of Health Statistics, and they found no correlation between birth rates and full moons.
Good.
So I'm like, well, that seems thorough.
How crazy would it be if they actually found the opposite? Like, there's no correlation to full moons. there is a correlation to a waxing crescent.
Yeah.
Way more, like 50% more babies are born on a waxing crescent. That's crazy.
That'd be so funny.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Why do... so I wouldn't... Two things. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in the 1600s, they were killing babies because witches are born under a full moon. Something crazy like that.
Probably. They used to
And number
do wild
two,
stuff back then.
why do they think that babies are born? Because the moon pulls on your water breaking or something?
I don't think that they...
Your baby's like, there's high tide in here. Get me out.
I think it's less of a physical part of it and more of like a spiritual connecting to Mother Nature part of it. It's the belief. Not like, oh, the gravity of the moon's going to pull this baby out. It's more like the how do I phrase it? Like seeing the moon as almost a sentient thing. Like Luna. You know.
This is the kind of thing that, like, girls who like rocks a little too much think. And they're like, this rock is good for your skin. It's like, there's no rocks that are good for your skin. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, and then another thing that's sometimes been contributed to the moon, the full moon, is blood loss. Quit looking at my notes and let me tell you the story. You don't need subtitles, just listen.
I was looking in that direction. I didn't even...
Okay, so this one sounded silly even to me.
You said bloodlust?
Loss.
Oh, blood loss.
Bloodlust. No, blood loss.
Like, are people killing each other?
No, there is a claim floating around out there that blood loss is worse during full moons and that some surgeons would refuse to operate on these days that there is a full moon. That's obviously not true.
Blood loss. In an injury or in surgery or both?
Both. Like so that if you get injured, you're going to lose more blood than you would have if it was not a full moon. And that if you have a procedure, the blood loss would be greater than if it was not a full moon.
Okay. Is blood thinner on full moon? Is that the idea or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but not the truth.
And you have higher blood pressure on a full moon because it's pulling on your arteries.
Yeah, the gravity is pulling it out of your body. So there was a small study from Barcelona, Spain that did find a weak correlation between this, that there was more people admitted to a hospital with like gastrointestinal bleeding on full moon nights. But that study was later, like we said, found to have a lot of problems and was kind of like put aside.
Well,
Not really given much credit to.
We only looked at full moon nights.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read you something that I found from Wikipedia.
Okay.
So here's a quote. In October 2009, British politician David Tredinnick asserted that during a full moon, surgeons will not operate because blood clotting is not effective and the police have to put more people on the street. And then a spokesman for the Royal College of Surgeons said they would laugh their heads off at the suggestion they could not operate on a full moon. So there's not, like, it's just not real. It's just one of those little things that gets passed around, I guess. So I don't have much else to say about that one. Blood loss is not worse on full moon night.
Like the fish bite better on a full moon?
Okay, now there is something to be said about that for animals, though. Let me get there.
Well,
Pause.
I was going to say for fish specifically because there's actual light coming off
Let me tell it.
Okay, go ahead. Are you going to do fish?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so, and then you can add all your fish knowledge.
I know lots about fish.
Now, we are switching gears here. So this episode's been a little bit of a bummer so far for people that do believe in full moon hysteria, and I've just told you all the ways that it's not true. So let's ask, does anything actually correlate to the full moon? And the answer is yes. There are some things that really do.
Werewolves.
I was going to start with motorcycle accidents.
Oh, motorcycle accidents. What?
Yeah.
No.
According to data from the US, the UK, Australia, and Canada, there's a 5% increase in fatal motorcycle accidents on nights with a full moon and a 32% increase on nights with a supermoon. Now, you could say, like I said earlier, that that's due to distracted driving. Either the motorcyclists or the car drivers are looking at the moon and probably especially the supermoon and just not being careful with where they're going, which does make sense, but there's still a correlation.
5% doesn't seem like that much, but 32 on a supermoon seems like a lot. Can I ask you a question?
5% is enough for it to be statistically significant.
Can I ask you a slightly unrelated question about a supermoon?
Yes, I might not know the answer, but...
Supermoon is when it appears way big and it's full, right?
Yeah, and it happens like once a year.
Yeah. And so is there ever a time when the new moon is super? You wouldn't see it in the nighttime sky,
Yes.
but there's a new moon during the morning that you can see that's big?
During the morning?
Well, you know what I mean? Like a new moon, super moon, because you see the new moon in the mornings, right? It's during the
No, I
daytime.
think new moon is when you can't see the moon. It's completely dark.
No, because the moon isn't there at night.
Wait, what?
I don't think the moon's there at nighttime in a new moon.
The moon's always there, but when it's a new moon, you can't see it.
Not at nighttime.
Where does it go, Shane?
It's up during the day, and then it's below the horizon at nighttime on a new moon. So you don't see it. I understand that it is still there.
That's what I was saying.
Around
The
the
new
Earth.
moon is when it's like blacked out. This is where is the new moon?
So
In
maybe
the sky.
I'm fully confident that like I might be wrong. People can
I
flame
think
us
I
out in the
just am
comments.
misunderstanding.
And I'm also too stupid to explain what I mean by this, but the new moon isn't, when you see the moon during the day,
Yeah.
that's the new moon.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's the new one. Or is that a blue moon?
Okay, no, well, maybe.
Maybe.
Say what you're saying one more time. I think I just misunderstood.
A new moon they say is dark because you don't see it, but the
Okay.
reason you don't see it is because it's not at nighttime. It's during the daytime.
Because it rose with the sun?
Yes.
Okay.
It's during the daytime.
Okay.
The moon is during the daytime, not at nighttime.
Okay.
That's why it's a new moon.
All right. I understand now.
Does that
I
make
had to
sense?
look at a picture.
Because the
to see
moon
what you were
isn't there when it's a new moon.
Yeah, when you were saying the moon isn't there, I was like, what does that mean? The moon is always there, but I understand.
Not
now
at
what you're
nighttime,
saying.
though.
But it's still physically there.
Below the horizon.
Right.
No.
It didn't go anywhere.
It's
It
over China
disappeared.
during the new moon. But
I
is there
now. Sorry for that. I got really confused.
is there a new moon, super moon that's you see big during the day?
Well, I want to say yes.
Is there? This is like the kind of thing where like I'm too dumb to word the thing, but people are going to be like, "Man, these people are stupid."
So supermoons can happen at a new moon, but I can't think of a time ever in my life when I saw a supermoon during the day.
Yeah, so that would be like a sign of the end times, right?
I don't know.
Maybe
Because NASA says like, yes, a supermoon can be a full moon or a new moon.
Okay.
But I guess maybe you just can't see them because it's a new moon, like you were saying.
Well, you could during the daytime because that's where it is.
Yeah.
During the day.
I don't know. I don't know.
Right. Anyway, also for motorcycles to have a 32% increase, do you think that that's just because they're more out trying to go see the moon?
That could be another part of it. Yeah.
More people are
like
driving and more
earlier.
people are obviously looking and then more. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Not because motorcycles get more dangerous to drive because the moon is big.
Right. It's just that people are not driving as focused because they're looking
and there's
at the moon.
more people trying to drive at night.
Increase in traffic, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's also more accidents with wildlife.
Okay.
New research found a 45.8% increase in car accidents involving wildlife during full moons.
Okay.
So that's kind of twofold. People are driving distracted because they're looking at the full moon. There's also an increase in animal movement, which sort of leads into the next point where we're going to talk about fish.
Because there's more light, so they move around more. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing I thought about. Have we done crime yet? Or are you going to do crime?
No, I didn't really get super into it because it was just more of this where like law or police departments claimed that there was more crime on full moons, and then studies showed that not really.
Right, but
so there wasn't really interesting to say about it. Okay, so talking about animal behavior and fish and everything. I read that there are certain marine animals, which include corals, the bristleworm, the streamlined spinefoot, and the California grunion, which will spawn at specific times according to the moon. And that has to do, kind of like you were saying, with the amount of light they receive and also the level of the tides.
Okay.
So now you can say all the stuff you wanted to say earlier about fish and full moons.
Fish, they say, bite better on a full moon.
That's funny because my next note was there is also evidence showing there are more animal bites during full moons, which is different but related.
And I think that it would have something to do with the moon shining on your shiny lure.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's more light available.
And that they will, but also, I would also posit that people fish during the day, and then when people fish at night, people are more likely to be out at night if there's a full moon versus not a full moon. So maybe you would catch
another one of those things where it's like
it's
there's
maybe
something else that's kind of causing it.
The rumor is, I don't know this to be true. This is probably like one of these like hillbillies made it up or something, but largemouth bass and smallmouth bass and stuff have to eat, or they do a feeding like every 4 to 6 hours or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be at nighttime, at least 1 or 2 of them. So they probably eat anyway, but
yeah. And then isn't like don't just like, not just fish, but other animals like mammals, I guess is the word I'm looking for, move around more when there's more light, more full moon? Or is that something I made up? Or something?
I have no idea.
Somebody made up. That might be why there's more bites, because there's more contact with
probably. Them. Well, is it more contact with animals or people, or do animals move around at night anyway?
Mm-hmm.
And people are going into the woods at night because it's a full moon.
Yeah, probably that.
So, and what causes an animal bite? Like, are there more snake bites on a full moon? Because snakes are nocturnal, right?
I was thinking like dog bites.
That's werewolves.
Yeah.
So first of all, second of all, I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand. Remember that song?
Yeah. Jack and I were werewolves for Halloween.
Werewolves of London. Oh, werewolves of London. Anyway.
Okay, where did this idea even come from? Where did the whole full moon hysteria, lunar lunacy, all of it originate?
Hippies.
Well, in the Middle Ages in Europe, it was commonly believed that lunar lunacy, also known as the Transylvania effect, caused people to act wild and even to turn into werewolves and vampires during full moon. So how did an idea like that even get started? Why did people start thinking that the full moon changed your behavior and made people act wild? A psychiatrist named Charles L. Rayson believes it stemmed from back before we had modern lighting outdoors. So people were used to sleeping in the dark, sleeping outside. And he says that the bright light from a full moon could have deprived people of sleep. And sleep deprivation can cause bizarre behaviors in people, especially in those that already have some forms of mental illness like bipolar disorder and other things. So it wouldn't have been everyone was bothered by the full moon, but it would have been people that were already like sensitive to changes. And so if they were used to sleeping in the dark and then suddenly it's really bright and they had trouble sleeping, even one night of sleep deprivation could have been enough to change their behavior and make them act a little erratically, and that's where this all started. But obviously there's no proof of that happening. That was a long time ago, but it's just one explanation.
No, people have been sleeping under the moon and the stars for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So, and then... So, no, wrong.
I agree.
Just sorry.
Okay, so to kind of wrap this up, if you ask anybody that works in education, law enforcement, or healthcare,
I would never.
They're going to say that the full moon absolutely has an effect on people's behavior, including myself.
You said that your kids are bad during the full moon.
I didn't say they're bad. I said that they're wild. I didn't say they were bad.
They're bad kids.
And not specifically mine. Kids in general are feral during full moons, okay? Ask any teacher,
okay.
Ask any law enforcement person, and they will say that nights are crazy during a full moon. Ask any healthcare person, and they will say that they see crazy cases during a full moon. But why is that if all of these studies show that it isn't true? And the term that I told you I was going to get to later is called illusory correlation.
Yep. I was about to say that.
It's a psychological phenomenon where people perceive a connection between two or more unrelated things, even though there's no evidence to support it.
Yep.
So what happens, and what has probably happened in my case, and why I have believed in this for so long, is because you'll go to work and someone will say, oh, get ready, it's a full moon today, things are going to be crazy. And so then everything that happens that's a little out of the ordinary sticks out to you because you already know it's a full moon. Or on the flip side of that, you had a wild day and then somebody says, did you know it was a full moon? And you're like, oh, that must have been why my day was like this. And so you build these connections in your head that all these wild things happened and it was also a full moon, so they must be connected.
Mm-hmm.
But you could have tons of other days like that, but they don't stand out to you because it wasn't a full moon. So that's pretty much what has happened. I'm still probably going to say that I believe in it because it's funny and it's fun to blame things on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have a crazy day and the children are feral, it's fun to say, man, it's because the moon's full. They're going wild.
Yeah.
So I'm probably still going to claim that, even though I know it's not really true.
Right.
I still like to believe it. And I'm going to leave you with this quote from William Shakespeare from Othello. It is the very error of the moon. She comes more near the earth than she was wont and makes men mad. The end. That's all I have for this episode. Kind of short. Unfortunately, my baby has a cold for the first time, and it's very sad, and I got to take care of her.
Yeah.
But I have already decided, though, that for my next episode, I want to go more into the werewolves thing and how that all started. So next 10 episodes going to focus deep dive in on the werewolves because I didn't really do that in this one.
Yeah.
So that's what we have coming up. What would you like to add?
I meant to ask earlier, you were talking about ferility.
Feral children?
No. What is it?
Fertility.
Fertility, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ferility.
Jeez. So you would wonder, right? Because isn't Venus the name of the goddess of love, right?
Yeah.
And the planet Venus goes also through phases.
Mm-hmm.
So you would wonder if maybe the planet Venus would have more to do with, if there was any kind of supernatural connection, the planet Venus should have more to do with fertility than anything else. But I don't know what the cycle of the planet of Venus is. So what are you looking up? Are you looking up
planet Venus
moon phases or something?
They have a moon?
Well, but put up phases or something. Phases like the moon.
Uh-huh. Okay, so let's see.
243 Earth days, I'd guess.
So that's 1 day on Venus because it spins so slowly. 1 day on Venus is 243 Earth days, and
look up if it goes
through phases. It takes 224 to orbit the sun.
It has phases like the moon that we see. I'm pretty sure it does. But
does Venus have phases like the moon? Yes.
Yep, knew it. I'm so smart.
Takes 584 days.
Yeah, see.
The moon's takes about a month.
And there's probably a correlation in lots of women having kids that are only like a year and a half apart or a year and 3/4 apart. So,
well, you're not wrong.
Are you going to have another one?
I mean, not right now. Don't start a rumor. Don't start a rumor. Eventually.
Like, whoa.
Not right now. I just meant you're not wrong that a lot of people have kids with
I thought you were
gap.
giving me a hint. I was like,
no, she's 4 months old.
That's what I was like, geez, you're daggone.
No. Okay. Well, so in conclusion, full moon hysteria, a little bit of a bummer because it's just not real, even though I really wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But it's still fun to say.
The moon is weird, though. There's lots of weird stuff with the moon.
And maybe we'll see more of that when I talk about the werewolves.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, whatever. My next episode, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do maybe a weird moon episode. I've got one of those in the chamber. Also want to do a conspiracy episode again.
Okay. What's your weird moon one?
Just the moon's so weird.
Okay.
So weird. It's there. It's too big. Bigger. The moon is bigger than other moons are compared to their planet. It sits there looking at us. Same face all the time.
Looking at me menacingly.
It rang like a bell when they shot that rocket at it and landed on there. And there's lights on it all the time. Stuff that they can't explain. They saw when they were there, if you even believe that they went there, they said they had lights there all the time. They saw lights in the distance and they didn't. So, and it's thin. It's got a thin crust. People say it's a spaceship, like a satellite, an artificial body that was put there. And I think that it's weird.
Well, it's going to make a good episode.
Also, that's assuming it even exists. But also, you ever heard the joke? I think this is like another Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. He said that the United States was trying to. Also, I want to do a moon landing episode, but
no.
Because the moon landing is
No, I don't want to talk about
suspicious.
that with you.
It's suspicious.
No.
But the first one is suspicious, at least. 100%.
I don't want to do that.
But Neil deGrasse Tyson was like, yeah, so the United States was in a space race with Russia. And so they said, hey, we got to get to the moon before Russia does. And so they contacted Stanley Kubrick to fake it. And it was too hard to fake the moon landing, so they did it on location. But no, it's suspicious. And I think it has more to do with overzealous media people than it does with the moon landing being fake. So specifically for all of the fake evidence that's come out and photoshopped evidence that come out. So that's been proven to be not real. So neat. But also, did you know that Russia didn't even want to do a space race? They were like, we're going to pretend like we're doing it. But then we landed on the moon, and then they put a space station in space. And we're like, what? Huh? That's not even anything we ever thought of. And so, yeah. Anyway, that's it. I want to do Oklahoma City. It's just too...
The bombing?
Yeah.
I went to that museum, the memorial museum thing there.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. It's very sad.
Yeah. It's
very heavy.
It's about to get even sadder when I do my episode and you find out what really happened.
Okay.
Which is like 10 times worse than what everybody thinks happened.
Okay.
Bummer. So, I'm not gonna. Even if I said the guy's name, then people would know. But
okay, save it for the episode though.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Country Roots Creeps. Leave us a 5-star review if you love the episode. Leave us comments about how dumb we are about the moon.
Yeah. This is just for fun, people. It's just for fun.
No, we're serious about it. We're a serious source of information.
We just sit down and talk.
Vote for me when I run for office.
Yeah, right. You're not running for office ever.
Might run to an office. And
Stop. I'm going to stop you right there. Do the outro.
Thanks for listening. Be safe driving home. Watch out for the not deer. Watch out for the werewolves. Watch out for people looking at the full moon. Watch out for the full moon. Might get you one day. Watch out for me.
Oh.
The redheaded hitchhiker.
Bye.
Bye.